recording now. Perfect. My day, I would give it a 6 out of, oh no, probably 7 out of 10 because I had a spa at lunchtime.
Oh, nice.
My neighbor has a jacuzzi and we play music together, and he was like, oh, if you ever want to use the jacuzzi, and I texted him saying, yes.
Today's the day. I need it.
Today's the day. Yeah, exactly. What about you?
Yeah, it was good. Busy because I'm at 3 clinics. I've just realized that I'm in 3 emergency blocks. So I'm on emergency this week again. So
Oh,
yeah, so that's not going to be fun.
so you think that you're going to have a weekend holiday this week coming?
Yes, well,
But
I was supposed, yeah, but I might be on emergency. So I've said I could do one day, 1 out of the 4. So
okay.
hopefully it's not in the middle of the weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather have a first day.
Okay.
So,
well, at least that's one good little break for yourself.
yep, that'll be good.
So share with me what has been the thinking since last week. We had we were talking about the standards for ourselves and having the gold, silver, and bronze standard.
Yeah.
How did that thinking come up within your week? What happened that was different? What did you notice that you need to set standards around?
Even structure. I think even probably cleaning. I usually clean a lot more than I do, but I think it was like, yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. The house doesn't have to be spotless. So lowering that standard so that I can achieve more without the guilt. I still had the guilt, but not as heavy.
Nice.
Yeah, which was good.
That reminds me of that quote, happy mothers have dirty ovens and happy kids. Something
yeah.
You know.
Yeah, my kids would be happy if they didn't have to do anything. Yeah.
Okay, and what about the standard that you set for yourself around exercise and going out more? Did you find that it was more in your awareness?
Yeah, it was, and it did rain a bit this week, but then I still went into the garage and did a little bit of a workout. And especially when I didn't want to, then I would be like, that whole just do it. Danny said that doesn't work for me, so I'm going to make it work for me. Just do it. Yeah, and then worry about it later. Oh, instead of talking myself out of it before I've even started to do it. And then a little bit of structure, trying to make sure all my clothes are ready before I do it. I only did it twice this week, but it was two more times than I did the week before. So, yeah.
Awesome. And did you get a puffer jacket?
Yes, I did. Yes. I didn't. I forgot that was even one of my goals, but I bought one.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then we had a party on Saturday night, a 55-year-old birthday party for nephew. And then I found my jacket. Another nephew had it.
Oh.
And it was like, I've been looking for this jacket for the last 8 months. And I've asked everybody for it.
Hilarious.
And he's like, oh, I didn't even know it was your jacket. And it was the day after I bought the other puffer jacket. So, yeah, but it's a different style, so it's okay.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, how strange is that? That I didn't even, I was just sort of, shopping, and I was like, oh, I need this. I'm just going to get it. And, yeah. And it was on my list of things to do subconsciously. Yeah.
Okay, nice one. Well, remember that every single time that you build this awareness, you are ingraining more the habit, and the just do it, taking the time to go into the garage and build that standard for yourself. The first times you push, you're creating a new neural pathway in your brain that says, okay, if I feel like this, I can still do it anyway. And once you build that neural pathway again and again, it becomes the highway, it becomes the preferred route, not just that really hard, treacherous route anymore. So then eventually the standards will get easier because it will be more ingrained. And that's why we have a bronze, silver, and gold, is because that bronze is like, even if you did that once or twice, like you said, in the week, that is creating the neural pathway, and then having a silver standard makes it easier, and then it's easier to achieve the gold standard once that becomes the go-to.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about how to have difficult conversations, because I know that that's something when you're reaching goals and you're needing to organize your life around you, you're learning how to value yourself more, but you're also learning how to condition the people around you to allow you to live the life that you want to live. And difficult conversations just means you claiming your place in the world and what you want to do, and being able to communicate to the people around you who that version of you is and what your mission is. So they don't have to, it's not like conflict per se, that would be a different kind of conversation, but it's a challenging conversation because it's owning who you are and it's holding your ground. Does that make sense? So it's not, not a dispute, but it's just the boundary setting, initial boundary setting. And the thing that I love about having these conversations is that I'm unconsciously, you've taught everyone around you how to treat you, but you're changing now because you are valuing yourself more, you're valuing growth. And so they might not have caught up, or they're trying to pull you back to who they want you to be. So to be able to have that boundary conversation is really a skill to build as you keep on valuing growth and leveling up and leveling up. And an example of this is my dad. He loves to tell me how to, I run his house for him, tell me how to do my job. And I've been running this house for 3.5 years, and he still texts me telling me when the bins need to be out.
Yes, I got a dad like that too.
So my biggest growth was learning how to lean into conversations with my dad and saying, I really appreciate that you are wanting to let me know about this, and I actually got this. And it took a while for me to condition him to let me have the responsibility. But now, actually, I haven't received a text message for probably maybe 3 or 4 months, because I've been conditioning him every time to trust me more, because I've been really firm about my boundaries around what I feel I do and do not need. And what I find, if you don't do these things, you end up crippling yourself because you are conforming to how everyone else wants you to be and people pleasing around you. So really curious for you, Manu, what is the challenge with having those boundary conversations?
I think probably that disappointing people, like with my father, because I'm in their old house and he still tells me how to light the fire, and then and thing, but I just tend to let him tell me. And it annoys me, but it's more of a him than me. So more worrying probably, the people pleasing, that I'm just let them be them sort of thing. That's what I would find the challenge. Yeah, but then I find that he does that a lot with everything. They tend to, yeah, that they tend to do things. Well, just thinking of my father, that yeah, he just still likes to have that authority
Mm.
when he doesn't actually have any authority on me. But I might like to think he does.
Oh, sorry. Why is that not ringing there? So what I'm hearing from that is it's part of it is the disappointment, but also
Mm.
part of it is what it costs you in that annoyance.
Mm. Yeah, well, it's more the thinking about what it, how it affects them. Like for my, for my father, for instance, he doesn't have any authority over anything, and I think he's sort of, um, because he's a bit older and he's by himself now, that he's got no one to tell what to do, and he's quite an authoritative sort of person. So
Yeah.
I'm happy. I've been not happy, but I've been just conditioned to just take what he says, even though even though I know what I'm doing and I know how to do it.
Mm.
Yeah. But then I think it is the same with because he can't really, yeah, he's just that sort of personality that he's just thinks that he knows everything.
Mm. But it doesn't mean that you have to conform.
No. Mm. Yeah.
So how would you like it to be instead?
Oh, more of a respectful relationship. Like, even though, oh, you're doing well. You're doing, oh, that's great. The fire's lit. Oh, that's thingy, not stoke it up some more and put something in there and,
Mm.
yeah. But then I'm not waiting for, um, you know, a compliment either. Otherwise, I'm setting myself up for disappointment.
Totally, because we can only control ourselves, we can't control others.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for the relationship to be more respectful, what kind of beliefs do you need to have about yourself?
I know that I'm a grown up. I can make these decisions, or I can light the fire. I've done that for many years
Mm.
without assistance.
Absolutely. But what's the belief that you need to have about yourself in order for there to be respect there?
Well, confidence. Not confidence, just worthiness, I assume.
Mm. That you're worthy to say something.
Mm, yeah. And I think I have been brought up with, children aren't not children, but you always respect your elders and you don't speak up or you don't put down
Mm.
anybody, particularly to make yourself look or feel better. Um, yeah. And I suppose that's it, even with, like I said, with public speaking. It's just this whole, like, what I've got to say isn't important enough to say it confidently. And even if it is, I'm still unworthy, still feel unworthy.
Mm.
Mm.
So, is there another way that you can be respectful and for them to be elders?
Yeah, well, I can always be like, I respect what you say. Thank you. I know I can do it myself. Rather, it's just like, I know, Dad. That's
Mm.
yeah.
So, potentially because you know that there's going to be a reaction, for you to be able to set it up so that you don't feel so that you're not reacting, but able to respond in a way that takes their needs into consideration.
Mm. Yeah, like even my husband did it one time. He knows how to cook something, and he asked my dad how to cook it, and then Dad, looked over his shoulders the whole time, and then, oh, put that in there, and there, the whole time, even though my husband's cooked it like 3 or 4 times, and he's just done that. But then he sort of, it was more of, he just wanted him to feel good about himself that he'd contributed to the meal, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So,
and the biggest fear for men that age is irrelevance.
Yeah. And I think that's why Dad is like that, because he is quite, he's always got to put his 2 cents into everything, even though it's not needed. But it's tricky. He's a whole course on his own, my father.
Yeah, but it's a perfect example of your next level of growth. Because being able to have conversations with your dad, or even with anyone in your family, is like the playground for out there.
Yeah.
Because it's valuing yourself enough to know that you deserve to say what you need to say. To allow you that emotional freedom.
Yeah.
So let's talk about how we actually go about these conversations. And the first thing that I always think about is a pre-frame. And a pre-frame is stating your intention. Because if your intention is pure, then it diffuses the guard of the other person. Which means you also do have to have a pure intention. If your intention is, hey, Dad, I'd really like to talk to you about some of the house stuff. I know you want to share it with me because it's your house, and I'd really like to improve our relationship by feeling valued. See how that was me stating what it is that I wanted, but it's the intention is about the relationship. Rather than don't treat me like that.
Yeah, I don't want any of his opinion on anything to do with the house. No. Yes, you did it your way. I'm going to do it my way.
Yeah. But your intention needs to be about care for him.
Yeah.
Because you do care about him, and you care that he's been trying to help you. So when you can pre-frame that and say, hey, Dad, I see that you're really trying to help me here, and I'd really like to be able to handle this on my own from now on. See how that was a really non-confrontational way to say that same thing? Because the intention is set up at the beginning so that they know that it's not just about you, but it's about the care and the relationship. And the next part is to use a check-in question. So if you say, hey, Dad, is it okay if I have a chat with you about some of the stuff in the house? You've got their permission and their buy-in when they say yes. And then you can say what you need to say, I already know about the fire. All of these things I have been doing for a really long time. But when you've pre-framed the intention and you've asked for their permission, they're going to be way more relaxed.
Okay.
And then the next part is also getting their agreement. So, so from now on, is it okay if insert request here?
Okay.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little role play so that you can practice the skill and also understand, maybe it's you're thinking about with your dad, maybe it's with someone else that you have challenges with. Give me a scenario of someone that you would,
sorry.
right? Somebody that you would like to have that conversation with.
There is one person, like, there's one person at DHB that I don't have a good relationship with, that I need to practice how to speak to and improve that relationship. So probably that one. Let's say his name's Tom.
Yeah. So I'm going to pretend to be Tom, and you're going to have this conversation. Pre-frame, check-in question, say what you need to say.
Okay.
And then next steps moving forward.
So I start with my intention before I get their buy-in? Okay. I want to improve oral health services in Southland. I was wondering if you have a minute to chat about that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. I feel like you'd say no already.
Okay.
How can I make that?
Also, what I've just noticed, if you say I want to improve oral health services in Southland, you also want to say about the other person. So that's the big intention. But what's the intention with Tom? It's like, I would really like to have a conversation with you about oral services in Southland, because I know that you're someone that's making those decisions. You know, like what's Tom's involvement in that intention?
Okay. He's in charge of all the decisions.
So I understand that you make some big decisions in this area.
Yeah, I understand you're the oral health advisor for South Island. Can we have a chat about how we're going to improve delivery in Southland?
Is it okay if we have a chat?
Is it okay if we have a chat? See, I feel like I'm conforming to him, but I need to have the chat. So I do need to let go of my ego, I think. Yeah. So is it okay if we have a chat about what we can do together in Southland?
Well, I've only got 10 minutes, so you better make it quick.
What would you do in Southland to improve? Where do you see the biggest factors?
Yeah, great.
That need improvement in Southland?
Awesome. Love how you open that up with a question. So when you're going into this conversation and your heart's going to be racing, if you already know that you don't like him, there's a really good trick that I use. It's like a body hack, because our heart connects in to the other person's heart. And we can bring compassion into our heart for that person, because we love all humans are wonderful until they're dickheads. And then we need to remember that they're humans. So when you put your hand on your heart, you're building that connection with that person, and you just got to take 10 deep breaths. And that takes you out of ego space of like, man, this guy's a dick. But like, okay, he's just another human.
Mm. Yeah.
So what kind of does that framework make sense to you? So asking
Mm.
doing the pre-frame intention, permission, buy-in, and then saying what you need to say.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, you said you need to let go of your ego. Actually, the question buy-in is sort of like getting in underneath their ego. Because if you just started saying, I need to talk to you about, and then that would be like ego fighting with ego.
Mm.
That's when no conversation happens.
Mm.
It's just an ego fight. So when you can be more humble and say, is it okay? You drop into heart space, and then they let down their guard more because they're getting asked a question.
Mm. Okay. I have sort of like looked at business strategies, and mainly from a woman's perspective, and it was like, women always ask for things, whereas men don't. Men show their expectations. And like when you want something, yeah, the way that you ask for it, sort of, are you framing yourself below that person to say, yes, sir, yes, please.
It's like if I rang you, I would always ask you, like, is this a good time to chat?
Mm.
I don't want to assume that my itinerary is your itinerary.
Mm.
So the permission question is just the initial. It's not like all hail. It's just the initial, like, are you okay? Are you in the right state of mind to have this conversation?
Yeah, yeah. Are you available?
Are you
Mm.
available to tune into me right now?
Mm.
And then you can say how, if you're like, there's some serious problems in Southland, and my expectations are that you help me to achieve this, you can absolutely have the conversation in that tone. But first, you've got the buy-in, and you've taken into account what's going to be a productive conversation rather than just hitting him with your agenda.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm thinking maybe I am too aggressive in my approach. Well, with the response or lack thereof I'm getting, that it is potentially how I'm coming across, which I don't intend to.
Yeah.
I don't intend coming across like that.
And you can also say that I don't intend to sound so intense about this. I am really passionate about it, and I do truly care.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm. So I'm really curious, what's the mindset that you need to go into these conversations with?
But I suppose, I know what I want. So I really just need to understand what other people want on the other side of the conversation, rather than going in blah 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 blah, all of my conversation, which I feel like I'm like that in meeting, that it's like I feel like, oh, I'm sure I've said all of this before, and I've got to say it all over again. And yeah, yeah. But I think even like as we discussed, it's instead of just making what is already there work. I think that is probably a strategy that I need to use.
Totally. And I love what you've just said about, you've got your agenda and you're finding out their agenda by asking questions and seeing how those two can come together.
Mm.
What are you currently doing? What aren't you doing? And then being able to check in, like, is there any way that we could work together on this? Is there
Mm.
anything else that you haven't thought of yet that maybe I can help strategize with you about?
Mm.
But you see how those questions, it's not making one person under the other, but it's showing up with curiosity to be able to find a way.
Mm. Yeah. Yep.
And this belief that you have about worthiness when having these conversations that can be quite challenging because you're having to own yourself and who you are. What can you tell yourself in that moment?
It's more of a who else, yeah. What comes to mind is like, who else is going to do it? People have tried. I don't know. Might just need that last little push to push that token off the platform. Like they might already be right on the brim of it. What can I say to push them off the edge?
Or how can I keep showing up as the curious version of myself so that I can figure out where the gap is?
Hmm. Hmm. I know where the gaps are, but nobody has any funding to fill those gaps. And they know that. Yeah. So I think, yeah, but I'm definitely not the first person to be advocating for things.
So, going back to the situation with your dad and challenging conversations within your family as you are growing more and more, what will that give you when you can hold those boundaries more effectively?
Freedom to do what I need to do without being weighed down by the challenges of being in relationships with people.
What else?
I suppose confidence that they might value me for that. They might appreciate the honesty.
Awesome.
I don't really think they will appreciate the honesty, because I've got to know that what they're doing is annoying, but they tend to do it anyway.
But they sometimes don't, because that's their unconscious strategy. This is how they've developed themselves. You guys are in a pattern together. Until you break that pattern, you can never become closer.
Yeah.
And so when you say not weighed down, what would that feel like instead?
Like freer.
And would that help you get more energy back to be able to focus on yourself?
Yeah. Because I do, overthink some conversations that I have. And, that's not good. Especially the difficult conversations. And then, how they've sort of played out, especially if the other person didn't know my intention, which was to probably improve the situation.
And remember that, we are leaders. You are a leader in your family. And you're building your self-awareness to know that sometimes you have to overcompensate for the person playing out their behavior. So it might not go the way that you want it to go, but you can zoom out and from the bigger picture see, oh, that's because it's too hard for them to face the truth in that moment because it's just too much for them. Or, for example, that with your dad, you know that he fears being irrelevant. And if he bites back at you, just allowing there to be space for that. So when you do those 10 breaths with your hand on your heart, you're building the resilience within you to allow for that so that you don't stop the conversations. That you're like, okay, that was a pretty shit response, but it means that I'm getting somewhere.
Okay. Yep. Build resilience. Yep.
So what's your commitment then for being able to have these conversations to create more space for yourself?
Really to start with the intention and know my intention well before I begin. And be curious. Remain curious throughout. Making sure it's a two-way conversation, not a one-way, all on my way. But listen more.
Love that. And I can imagine that just having the awareness of that will help your conversations be more smooth. Even though it's going to be an adventure, because you have to go one step forward, two steps back to be able to find out where the line is.
And it's quite frustrating with my father because he never listens. Like he's always he'll ask you a question and then he won't listen to the response, and then he'll either butt in halfway through it or talk over you. And that frustrates the heck out of me, especially when he's doing it to other people and I can see it. Like, you asked him how his weekend was and then you interrupted with another question. But yeah, you can't control everybody around you.
Yeah. And also your dad is only that way when you allow that behavior around you.
Yeah. I don't want to embarrass him though in front of people by just wait. Just wait till they finish talking. But I have.
You can just say, hey Dad, is it okay if we just finish having this conversation?
Yeah.
It's just a gentle nudge, remember? It doesn't need to be full on. And they don't have to change. They don't have to do anything. But as long as you've said what you need to say because it's important to you, that's you building your worth.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
So where do we go from here? What more do you need to be able to understand how to take action in these situations?
Are there any other strategies when you feel like you're too nervous to talk about it?
Have you ever done any breathing exercises?
I usually do try to breathe through it, but then I'll still say something. Somebody said to me just to practice what I will say. Some of the answers that I'm answering is the same answer anyway. So just to listen to myself speaking, to speak, then that helps when saying something like practice your speech.
Practice it in your mind so you can see yourself doing it the way you want to do it. 100%. And there's a nice breathing exercise that when you're, especially if you like drink a lot of caffeine, you're super busy, your mind is still up in go-go land.
Mm.
And to neutralize your body, you can do box breathing, which is 6 in, holding it for 6, 6 out, holding it for 6.
Okay.
And that brings you into the present moment. Because if you breathe in more than you breathe out, you build energy in your body. If you breathe out more than you breathe in, then you lower energy in your body. So if
Mm.
you're trying to go to sleep, take 1 breath in and 1 really long breath out. That's how you go to sleep. You want more energy, you take 2 big breaths in and only 1 breath out. But when you do the same length, you're bringing you into the present moment, which is easier to think, makes more clear.
Mm. Yeah.
So would you like to try that box breathing with me now so that you can understand how it neutralizes you to set you up for those conversations?
Okay.
Okay. So you can keep your eyes open or closed. Take a breath in when you're ready to prepare. And fully let it out. Now breathe in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Release. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hold. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, back to normal breathing.
Mm.
What did you notice?
Some physiological response. I'm quite calm now.
Hmm.
My brain. Mm.
Yeah. And if 6 is too much, you can do 4, 4, 4, and 4. But
Mm.
6 really helps you to steady your mind when you're not breathing for 6. Then you really drop into the present because you're thinking about not being able to breathe.
Mm. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I should try that. 2 days in the morning.
And especially for those conversations with people that you know, like this guy, Tom, if you know that he's going to be really reactory or, not reactory, but very egotistical, when you can envision it in your mind of him being ego and you just responding with love, being
Mm.
like, I can totally see how that must be a limitation for you.
Mm.
Is it okay if we take some time to look if there's another way? So for me, it's all about love. If you can go in with that intention of like, hey, I'm just really here to find out if there's another way.
Mm.
That energy that you bring will create a better result. But if you're, children, washing, home, life, and then you drive to the office and then you go have the conversation with Tom, it's going to be super ego driven. But when you
Mm.
can stop, relax, be intentional about it, that'll change the whole vibe.
Mm. That sounds good.
Awesome. So what's the commitment from today?
I think I might just breathe before I say anything and just, stop. even if I am rushing around and thing, and just, yeah, not just bleh, when I feel like it, about whatever I feel like.
Yeah, that's huge, Manu. I remember when I learned this probably like 4 years ago, made
Mm.
such a big difference because I was also like, I just need to tell you this now. But along the way, learned that actually I don't want to like vomit my stuff onto somebody else, that they're allowed to have their boundaries, and I'm also allowed to say what I want to say, but I need their buy-in first for it to be effective.
Mm. Yeah, I do feel like I overshare sometimes, which I should probably not.
I don't
But
think it's oversharing. I think it's just you're sharing it with the wrong people.
mm, yeah, mm, I think they're the right people, but in the wrong positions. Yeah, well, they should be the right people, but then yeah,
And maybe even checking in using those check-in questions, like, oh, do you want to know more about this? Or like, is this interesting to you? Just stopping every intermittently and being like, oh, do you know what I'm talking about? So
mm,
then you can gauge whether they're into it or not.
mm, mm. No, that sounds good.
And the biggest healing comes from being able to move through what's called your tribal cycle. So you developed a pattern with your dad where you met all of his needs when you were younger because he's quite a
Mm,
domineering character, and you've
mm,
been conforming to him your whole life. And when you can become, because you are strong enough within yourself to start developing those boundaries, it's like you're letting go of the need to please him. And that is super empowering for you to be able to break that cycle that you've been in your whole life.
yeah, I am quite he is quite a, even just one spending a half an hour with him can change my whole emotions. Like it just makes me very depressed, I think, because he just piles a whole lot onto me. But it's like I feel really bad because I'm the only person he has, which he says all the time. That I'm the only person left in his life and blah blah blah. And
Yeah.
so that just puts, it's a guilt, like a guilt thing. And then if I haven't seen him in 5 days, oh, it's like I haven't seen you forever. Like it's just yeah, it's yeah, it's quite heavy.
Yeah.
But and because I was talking to someone about it, something, well, I didn't go to a counselor, but I felt like it was counseling. And they said, you've just got to decrease your time that you spend with him. But I can't really in actuality do that. But I can control how I feel.
And you can control the way that you set boundaries with him.
Mm. And I did make it like we'll walk in the mornings, we'll do this. I've done, where I'd see him every day and just try to, make it well, really please him as much as I can, just
Mm.
for him to feel like that box has been ticked. But it's just never enough. It's just more and more gets put on there, and then
Yeah.
more and more guilt. So,
Yeah. So managing your distance with what he needing approval from him and approving of yourself, you are allowed to be who you are now. And
mm,
as you start to value that more, then he'll have less and less power over you.
mm, yeah, mm, yeah,
And I know it's bloody hard and it's really a big deal. But that frustration that you are holding on to by not saying something, that's eating you,
Mm,
costing you energy. So rather it cost you energy to say something than not.
mm. Yeah.
Okay. So key point of value for today.
Breathing. And live with intention. Speak with intention. But from a place of love. Or know my intention when I speak.
Yeah. Bring others along on the journey with you.
Mm. Cool.
Awesome, Manu.
Okay.
I'll send the recording to Carlo and then I'll see you next week.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Welcome.
See you. Have a good week.
See ya. Bye.
Bye.